So hi everyone. So in this international conference on social sciences and technology for postgraduates and research, ICSSTPR2022, our group, which consists of Nur Fazina, Usman, Wong Silian, and me myself, Jain, Yassin, and Suhani Bakrin, will present. So I, on behalf of my team, will present our title, which barriers to women empowerment, case study of suburban areas in Tawau Sabah. So before I start, I want to say thank you so much to the organizer to organize these conferences. And this conference, I believe that is the best platform for a researcher as well as postgraduate students to present their finding, their research. Okay, so this is a preliminary studies. However, we found very interesting findings, input and output from our research exercise, which I will share later on. And okay, so we look into the landscape of Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. One of the goals that strongly highlighted by researchers now, the CSO NGOs, as well as the government, is to achieve this gender equality and at the same time to empower women, which for sure this will help to achieve this 2030 agenda. However, based on the study that reported by researchers, there are still few issues that become a barrier to achieve this goal. So we look into the previous study, for example, like Suradi et al. 2013. Unfair treatments at work still happening, and not only in workplace, but as well in other environments, for example, at home. And according to Sweep et al. 2013, gender violence happening not only workplace, but as well as in other environments as well, in home and others areas. And gender inequality is one of the issues which is become the barrier of the process of empowering women. And sadly, this also holds true for Malaysia as well, as reported by quite a number of studies. Okay, and we want to zoom into Sabah. So why Sabah? So according to DOSM 2021, Sabah is not only one of the poorest, but the poorest state in Malaysia. According to DOSM, 25.3% of the populations in Sabah living below the poverty line. Hence, they need more work to eliminate the gender bias, as well as to empower women in all levels of society in Sabah. And we did review articles or previous study, and we segregate them based on their methodology, focus study, and so on and so on. We found that most of this study is focusing on rural areas or urban areas, and there are very limited studies that focusing on suburban areas. So we know that suburban areas in between these two, which is urban and rural areas. So suburban areas, they also have different, what we call set of geographical factors or conditions and other factors. And by looking into that, in Sabah, we focus on Tawau. So while Tawau, based on the other constituency in Sabah, Tawau is one of the constituencies that have quite a lot of suburban areas. Okay, so based on the finding, so for sure, we are conducting interview in a small circle of people where we only have 3 respondents because this is a preliminary study. However, the interesting part is that all the respondents have a very what we call represent a very strong understanding on the women in their areas. Why? Because, for example, participant A is a single mother, but as well as entrepreneur and the committee leader, which is the MPKK, or Majlis Pengurusan Community Kampung. And the second participant is also single mother and entrepreneur and head of member of political parties. And participant R is a single woman, entrepreneur, as well as member of political parties. So they have what we call a better understanding because their activities, their daily life, they are meet with most of different levels of women in their areas, and they have understanding in terms of what happened because they receive also complaints, receive what we call news, visiting the women in the area, and so on and so forth. And based on our very interesting discussions, interview with them, almost 3 hours discussions, we summarize the finding into 3 themes. The first theme is low participation in economic activities. The second one is gender inequalities. And the third one is gender violence and mental health issues. In low participation in economic activities, there are few barriers that lead to this low participation in economic activity. One of it is lack of employment opportunities, especially in industrial sector, and as well as agriculture sector, basically. In Tawau, the main activity is the agriculture sector, which is plantations, as well as manufacturing activity. And most of the job opportunities that are being advertised is mainly focusing on men and lack of what we call job opportunity for women in Tawau. And another barrier is that, according to them, they are marginalized community in employment. According to participant A, for example, most job opportunity, for example, in big companies or factory are monopolized by Chinese, while the Malays sometimes need to have strong cabals. So cabal here is referred to someone who that can help them to find the jobs. So Malay here is referred to the orang asal Sabah. Orang asal in Tawau, the majority of the ethnic is Bajau and Bajau, and some of them is Malay and a few others sub-ethnics. And those are also they, and so on. Yeah. And one of the also barrier that's highlighted by participant S and A is due to the status as a single mothers. For example, according to participant A, in supermarkets, a clerk mostly they want under 25 years old. And majority of the single mothers are over 30 years old. So where is the opportunity for us or for them, according to participant S? So these are one of the issues. And so here, we look into here, this not only because of the status, but also because of age, right? So age also become the barrier to them to enter the economic activities. And the second theme is the gender inequality. Gender stereotype still strongly happened in Tawau, and no enough room for the opportunity for the woman contribute the labor force. Basically, this is what we call crossover in the first theme just now, and also no program or initiative to help the single mothers. So the third theme, gender violence and mental health issue. So this also will lead to this, the third theme will lead to this first theme, so which also will lead to the low participation economic activity. So domestic violence toward housewife during pandemic is increasing according to the respondent. And according to participant R, the wife is forced to work because the husband lost his job during the COVID-19. So this led to emotional stress among women in Tawau, in suburban Tawau. And it's also reported that sexual harassment among female workers also happening in suburban areas, Tawau, especially in the plantations as well as manufacturing activities or sector. So there are a lot of others interesting dialogues that have been done, which include in the paper, which later on I will share to you guys to read and so on. I just summarize on the finding, and from that, it shows that a barrier in women empowerment in Tawau still persists, still exists, which needs to be looked into seriously, and to build community empowerment, especially in suburban areas, is very essential to promote women empowerment, as well to address gender-based violence and to minimize obstacles faced by women in the society. So by then, we need to look into the improvement of the policy itself in terms of promoting what we call gender balance, as well as initiative need to be done to tackle the issue that I mentioned just now, the single mother status, the age problems or challenges in entering economic activities, gender stereotype, lack of employment, and so on and so forth. So we need to really look into this one. If not, then for sure we are unable to achieve the SDG goal as well as being left behind. I think that's all for me. So thank you so much and good luck.